I was born in the Shire, Gloucestershire to be precise, which is a county in England. And I begin with this line for 3 reasons. Reason number 1, it was Mum's idea. For a long time, my mother's dearest wish, for whatever reason, has been that regardless of the theme of my chapel talk, I start with the words, I was born in the Shire. You're welcome, Mum. Reason number 2, I love the American town that has been my home for all of my life besides the first 2 years, but the Shire just sounds so much cooler than Garottin. G-Town, the 01450, you can't make it sound good. Reason number 3, being born in the Shire is something I have in common with the protagonists of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings trilogy. We may not be from the same Shire, but I like the thought that, like Bilbo and Frodo Baggins, my life is a story. There are some differences for sure. Mine is a noticeable lack of dragons, elves, or wizards. But I think at some basic level, our stories share some of the elements of all stories. Emotions, fear, guilt, happiness, love, pain. These are just some of the feelings that transcend universes, plots, and characters. So to tell my story, that's where I'll begin. 5 emotions through 5 stories that have brought me to where I am today. Chapter 1, Fear. A good part of my younger days were spent at Alexandra Connor's house. On this fateful day, we are climbing a tree. Not just any tree, but a colossal, looming hemlock which towers over Alexandra's driveway and screams to every child within a 5-mile radius, climb me, you won't. So of course, we have no other choice but to scale this mammoth. Branch after branch, we swing ourselves higher and higher. Eventually, Alexandra, being somewhat sensible, realizes that we have gone far enough. She stops and advises me to do the same, but no, not I, the cavalier rogue of a child who knows no limits. I press on, and approximately 2 branches later, I look down. It is at this moment that I realize I am not a big fan of heights. I gulp and yell, okay, we can go down now. She hasn't exactly been waiting for my permission and is already maneuvering smoothly back down the tree. At this point, I come upon a second realization. As any experienced tree climber will tell you, the heart is not going up as much as it is coming back down. A voice which is getting increasingly further away calls, are you coming? Now, if the teenage me were put in this situation, I would probably respond with the suave, nah, I'm just chilling, Holmes. But my terrified kindergarten self, clinging to the trunk, is years away from such a swag disposition. So I do what any kid would do. I cry my eyes out. I weep and I weep pathetically until Mrs. Connor has to come out of the house to gently convince me that I can make my way down without plummeting to my doom. Chapter 2, Guilt. About 5 years later, it is the last hazy summer afternoon before my family flies across the world to begin our sabbatical year in India. Naturally, I spent most of the day with Stefano, riding ripsticks around campus, playing trampoline soccer, biking around the triangle. The late-day sun finds us sprawled on the boathouse deck, watching the clouds go by and talking. After a long period of silence, Stefano presents a profound and deep idea. Yo, put your shoe in the water. I am slightly taken aback. Nah, man, it's a river, going that way, pretty fast. The current is, in fact, particularly strong that day, but he insists there is nothing to worry about. I'm not exactly sure what we're trying to accomplish here, but I eventually acquiesce on the condition that he guarantees the safe return of my shoe. I stick it in the dark, natural waters, and we watch intently as it flows along. 2 pairs of eyes trail the green shoe as it hugs the dock for a few yards before turning left and darting out towards the center of the river like a liberated fish. We stand in silence for a good 10 seconds. Before I can say anything, Stefano is stripped down to his swimsuit underwear, which I guess he always wears for occasions just like this, and plunges into the river. The chase is on. I run along the bank, keeping pace with Stefano, who is swimming with the current and gaining on the shoe. When he finally reaches it, he makes for the bank, but realizes that the river is pulling him along so fast that it's hard to control which way he's going. At this point, I'm terrified. I'm sure that I will be forever confined to the dusty dune of a guilty conscience, as my Peruvian friend is swept away to a watery death, all because of my shoe. I was less eloquent back then, so my thought process was probably just, oh no, bye-bye, Steph. But it is guilt, nonetheless. Fortunately, Stefano manages to fight his way to the bank where I help him up onto solid land. Always a man of his word, he has ensured the return of my shoe. It takes a long time for him to stop shivering and even longer for us to stop laughing, but somehow I make it out of that day with both my shoe and my friend. Chapter 3, Happiness. Fast forward about 3 years to 2012. A year characterized by Gangnam Style, YOLO, #StopConey2012, and The Hunger Games. The charming young adult's book about children mercilessly slaughtering each other has hit the big screen, and the hype is real. So of course, one Saturday night, I hop on a bus bound for good old Solomon Pond Mall with a second form posse of Arthur Jelling, George Klein, Alex Faber, and Anwar Mack. Going into the theater, Arthur, George, and I are somewhat apprehensive. We know that we have a good sense of proper etiquette in public space. We do, but we are less sure about our companions. Already, Alex Faber has shown the audacity to holler "Anwar" across the food court, only to be met by a smack on the forehead and an angry Anwar saying, "I'm right here, fool." Our fears of public embarrassment are mostly unfounded for a good portion of the movie. That's not to say that the occasional "oh" can't be heard every now and then, but nothing extreme happens. That is, nothing happens until the scene. Towards the action-packed end of the movie, a competitor in the games is grappling with Katniss and holding a knife to her throat. It looks like it's curtains for Jennifer Lawrence until a large, brawny, tertiary character named Thresh comes out of nowhere and throws the evil knife girl against the big metal horn. Incited by this moment of triumph, Anwar jumps to his feet clapping and proclaims with conviction, "That's a real brother!" An applause breaks out as almost the entire audience rises to its feet around the rabble-rousing Anwar. Meanwhile, George, Arthur, and I are convulsing on the theater floor crying with laughter. For the rest of the movie, the audience as a whole cheers for Thresh, and when he dies, gasps and cries of protest ring throughout the theater. The barrier of public courtesy has been broken, and it's the best movie experience I've ever had. Chapter 4, Love. Whenever my brother sees me come through the door, he will greet me cheerfully, hug me if I don't look too dangerous, and probably try to tell me about some cool thing that has to do with Star Wars. He does all this despite the fact that he'll be lucky to get more than a in response. My sister leaves notes and candy on my desk on holidays or random occasions, even though her wide smile and enthusiastic wave are rarely met with more than a nod when we pass each other in the hallway. To be fair, I do regularly explain to them that I'm a pretty evil guy, so they don't need to be nice to me, but that's never stopped them. As for my parents, to list all the things that they do for me would take another chapter talk entirely. In a poem titled "Those Winter Sundays," Robert Hayden writes about his father's thankless task of chopping wood to keep the family warm. The last 2 lines read, "What did I know? What did I know of love's austere and lonely offices?" For most of the year, I know little. I show little thanks. I'm a day student, but never at home, and when I am, it's to sleep or work. So when I get the chance over break to sit down with my family and play a game of Risk that lasts long into the night, I remember it. I play a board game with my family, not much of a story, but a moment in which I slow down to be with the ones who do so much for me is a moment that matters. Chapter 5, Pain. I'm at a restaurant in New Delhi. Sitting across from me is my aunt, and to my right is my cousin, 2 years older than me and studying medicine in London. He is saying the right things in response to what we are hearing. I'm not. I'm not saying anything at all. My jaw aches from clenching as the muscles in my face struggle to keep it neutral. For the first time in my life, I am hearing about my aunt's marriage to a man whose name is never spoken of in my family. Tonight, my aunt tells me about violence, hitting, shoving, walls, floors. The reality behind the words domestic violence has never infiltrated my world before. How can I come to terms with the fact that someone, anyone, would want to hurt my aunt? My aunt who loves Bob Marley music and buying people presents. Doesn't make sense. It can't. I sit in silence because sometimes it's all you can really do. Art Blakey once said this of jazz: all you have to do is be able to feel. As a pianist, I know this to be true for music. But what about the rest of life? A lot of growing up for me at first was about being quieter, cooler, suppressing my emotions. It's easier to act removed. It's easy not to care because it means not getting hurt. If you never care, you won't feel as acute a pain as I felt for my aunt that night in New Delhi. That's what becoming an adult can do to you. It can teach you not to feel as much. Going from a child to an adult means going from rolling on the floor laughing to smiling politely, from crying at scary or sad things to keeping a straight face. I'm almost 18, and I'm about to turn the corner towards the life of an adult. But if growing up means going numb, it's not something I want to do. Because if my life is a story, I need to realize what makes my story, what makes all stories. I heard some wisdom to this effect from a man who is known in some circles as Michael Yu, but to me as Master Oogway. Oogway and I recently watched an anime series called Steins Gate, which is about a scientist and his friends who stumble upon time travel. Over the course of the show, the protagonist goes from a cold, calculating, mad scientist to someone who abandons his personal ambitions to save the ones he loves. I was sort of rattled by this personally, as a geek. I complained to Master Oogway that the plot didn't really use the potential of what could have been an epic battle against the evil corporation, or the scientist using his intelligence for great power. That's the beauty of it, the wise old turtle replied. There's all that stuff about time travel and secret organizations, but in the end, it's just a show about people and the ways they care about each other. And that's the truth about stories. When you care about friends, family, or yourself, you feel things like fear, guilt, happiness, love, pain. The anecdotes from my life which I've shared today show that the times when I've keenly felt my emotions, both the good and the bad ones, have made me who I am. Things like success and failure or setting are like time travel or dragons or wizards. They're parts of the story, but they're not what makes the story. As Paul McCartney would say, it's the fool who plays it cool by making his world a little colder. I have learned not to make my world colder, because caring is what makes my story. Feeling is what makes my story. So, I once was, probably at some point, what my mother would call a sulky teenager. But when Angus, Drew, Stephen, bass god Andrew Lay, Eddie, Michael, and I play the blues for this postlude, we'll do it with some feeling. That's what makes us alive. Thank you.